You know every time we speak, it's no apologies. This is Wicklow Healthcare Advisory, presenting industry insiders, brought by Bill Murray. He help you in a real hurry. From ownership to healthcare, he an advocate, teaching you how to buy and sell practices. From CPAs to attorneys, all guests, here to help you with your goals. You never know who's on next. This is Wicklow Healthcare Advisory. Let's go!
Let's go! Everybody, welcome. We are on episode 11, which is unbelievable. Lucky 11 here at Industry Insiders. Bill Murray here, founder and CEO of Wicklow Healthcare Advisory, your host. And again, we've got a great episode for you today. I've been trying to get these two individuals on for months. They are extremely busy. They're on the trade show circuit. They've got clients all over the place. They're national. They live in a beautiful area of the country, but they are on the road a ton. So it was nice that we were able to find a Friday to get this recorded. And it's summer. We're all in our polos now. I've been complaining about the weather in Boston for I think the first 10 episodes as we went through Christmas in January and February. And I think by April, I had started calling it spring, but it was still winter because it was still 28 degrees and snowing here. So it's nice to have some good weather. And the two guys that are coming on here in a minute, they always have good weather, which is slightly annoying. But we'll get into that in a minute. But as we talk about on this show, as we talk about on this podcast, is we're trying to introduce you, the healthcare practice owner, to people that can help you manage your business, manage your life, manage your finances easier. Make it easier for you. Make the process of being an owner, make the process of being a practitioner easier for you. And one of those things that is vital to managing your business, and for most of us, these are closely held businesses, it goes right into our family tax return, is managing your finances. Because at the end of the day, when you make money, that's great, but when you save money, that's better, and when you invest that money, that's how you create generational wealth. So today we've got two individuals. Come on in, CJ Burnett and Tom Seeko, financial planners and advisors from Florida Veterinary Advisors, Next Step Finances. Gentlemen, come on in. It's really great to see you, Tom and CJ. Thanks for joining.
It's always awesome to be here with you, Paul. We love talking with you, man.
That's great. And listen, I know that you guys are very veterinary focused, but we might have some dentists and medical doctors that are listening too. Our backgrounds are really heavy in veterinary, so we'll focus on that today. But thanks for joining. Again, polos, I appreciated that, guys. You're down in Florida. You're in the Tampa area, I believe. Is that where headquarters is for you?
It's just a little north of Tampa, but yeah, our office is in Tampa, and then we live a little like towards Odessa, Lutz area.
Today it is 90 degrees outside, if you're wondering.
Yeah, you're the opposite. Like, you guys get into July and August, and you're like, get me out of here because the heat and humidity is crazy, right?
Well, you make the comment about how it's good weather always, and I think right now it's like walking outside in Florida right now is very similar to taking a shower, not drying off, and putting on all your clothes. That's pretty much how it feels. So that's why we're, most of the time when I go outside, I'm usually in shorts or a bathing suit, because otherwise it's hot and it's muggy.
That's amazing. Well, gentlemen, I'd love to start off. Tom, a quick question for you. So how, tell me a little bit about what you and CJ as partners and as advisors do for your clients, predominantly in the veterinary industry. What is it that you do? Tell us about how you came up with the idea for your company. You two are both entrepreneurs. Give us kind of the background of what you do and how you go about it for your veterinarian clients.
Let me just give a little brief history here, because everyone's probably curious about that as well. I've been in the advisory business since, 2011. CJ has as well. We actually never met each other for the first few years of our career. I was working with teachers for a short period of time, and then CJ was doing his thing here at the firm we're at right now. I transitioned looking for something better that aligned with me, philosophically, had principles that I aligned with. And I know when I joke about this, but CJ is like, it wasn't that long and everything else, but I think it was like a good 6 to 8 months before CJ and even talked at the firm. I joined in October, and I think we actually started having conversations around like April or May.
That's funny.
And it was, at that time period, like I had a lot of teachers I worked with in the past. I just felt like the people, it wasn't an industry I wanted to continue being behind. There's other people I was like, they're probably a better fit for this.
Sure.
And I remember we had an opportunity to really start working towards an industry. And, the long story short of it all was like the veterinarians were one that had come across the table of, hey, look, there isn't a lot of support and education and guidance that's being given. And most of the education people are getting, it's around product sales. So they're being told to put money in investments. You need to go buy disability insurance. And, after doing some research, it started off a little slower. We got some clients in Tampa. And then over time, CJ and I managed to start taking it more national. We became race providers. We started our own podcast in 2020. We started speaking on the national circuit, being involved with the Veterinary Business Management Association. We speak in at least one or two conferences every year continuously. We just authored a book in 2024. So a lot of our efforts is just like we see that there is a demand for it and people want it. And, along the way, I think the biggest part of all of this, I'd say to break it down to like, where do we really help is that we, on the personal and the business side is that we help people realize what kind of habits and behaviors they need to create in their finances and be able to stay true to them and be able to focus on the things they can control and focus less on the things they can't control. And especially being a business owner, what happens is like so many of them get so absorbed on their business
Right.
and they completely neglect their personal life. And then one day they want to sell. And then their sale is they're supposed to be their retirement plan and they have no idea what they're going to do.
Totally. You made a very good point that I wanted to make sure I called out for our listeners about it seems that there's a lot of product being sold. It's like, oh, you're going to own a hospital, so you better get some disability insurance. Or, oh, you passed your NAVLE exam, so now it's time to think about life insurance and disability. But those are very product focused. It's like a need arises and then there's a product to solve that need. But you guys do it very differently in that it's more of a holistic kind of look at the entire picture approach. CJ, could you talk a little bit about how you go about working with a client to make sure that the entire picture is kind of taken care of?
Yeah, I think it comes down to tactical versus strategic decisions, right? Most people make tactical decisions in their finances. They go, should I put money in a 401k? Do I pay off my student loans? Do I buy some, how much auto insurance do I need? What kind of life insurance should I buy? How much death benefit should I have? Everything's very tactical as opposed to starting with the strategic. So we actually flip that around on its head. Whereas most people only focus on the tactical, and usually the strategy is they think that there's a strategy there, but more often than not, no one's been really given I would call it the box top to the puzzle of how you think strategically, financially, especially when it comes to owning a business. And so the reasons for planning for a lot of people when it comes to a financial perspective is they're just trying to grow their net worth, as opposed to being strategic around their specific goals and around their personality, their family, the situation. And I think a lot of the time when we're working with people come in with this tactical mentality and we're trying to pull them out and say, no, let's think strategic. And we've designed a financial planning process for business owners, as we are certified exit planners. So we mostly work with business owners and structuring their business plan and coordinating it with their personal plan. Through that business planning process, we're making sure that no stone is left unturned. And as we go through each of those meetings, whereas they might have certain priorities in line, what we're doing is we're taking those priorities and prioritizing them within context of the meetings and how we're trying, because we don't want to put on our shoes before our socks. And a lot of the times people are really trying to put their shoes on, and we got to say, hold on, have you thought about maybe let's start with the socks, because you can put your shoes on, but the consequence is, well, your feet get a little muggy and you're going to feel like frankly, like you live in Florida, right? So
It's kind of like when you roll out of bed and if you just slide on your pants and then put your underwear on underneath your pants and you're just like, you look silly, right?
You'd look silly. You'd feel weird. I mean, and I think the people feel those symptoms from a financial perspective. Like a lot of the times there's this inclination that there's something that they're missing. And there's like something deep down is telling them, look, you probably should be doing more, but they're not sure what more that would be.
Sure. There's and it's you guys mentioned the designation like certified exit planning strategist. So I know you work with a lot of veterinarians that come to you and they are kind of at that end career, ready to sell or have an offer or thinking about that exit strategy. But really, what it sounds like for me and what I've talked to you all about in the past is really the planning for sale should be happening at the beginning of your career, right? Especially from a financial standpoint.
Amen.
And I get it, like life happens. Life's expensive. Kids are expensive. College is expensive. But if you're not planning for those things, it sounds like, and not planning for the end in mind, like you're not fully benefiting from all of the things that you could be doing in your financial life.
Well, I think a lot of planning focuses on an end game that ends up being halftime. So what I mean by that is like they say, they focus on retirement planning, but they're focusing on getting to retirement, not through retirement. When they talk about business ownership, they're talking about getting to business ownership, not through business ownership. Because the real reason why we own businesses is because we want to build personal wealth. And yet most business owners will go their entire life with almost all of their wealth wrapped up in their business.
In the business.
And so to take a step back and think, okay, we need to make sure that the business serves the community 100%, serves the employees 100%, and then also serves the owner 100%. And I think a lot of the times owners are very focused. They're entrepreneurial. They want to serve the community at max capacity that they can. And a lot of the times the end result is to just grow, or the end result is to just own the business, as opposed to thinking, okay, on the other side of this, there is a time in which we get older and we want to get out. There is a time when we just get tired. Right. And so there's 3 ways to exit the business. You can sell it to an insider, you can sell it to an outsider, or you can die owning the business. It's very rare someone says, I would really love to die owning the business.
Yes. It's and in veterinary medicine, it does seem like exits are happening a little sooner for some. Either the burnout from management happens a little earlier in career, or they're being approached by a big corporate acquirer with a number that is hard to pass on at that time. Whether they should take it or not is here nor there, but it's hard when you get millions and millions of dollars put in front of you to say no to that. So that's a very interesting point. And I like how you talk about, like, it's not just about planning on getting to somewhere, getting through, right? Like people say it all the time, like I just want to get to retirement. And it's not about getting to retirement, it's about, all right, well, what does retirement look like? How do you get through that? And what do you want to leave for your family after the fact?
Well, a lot of the reasons why people delay selling is because they're not exactly sure what the other side of selling looks like. And so I also will typically say to people, look, we can't look at retiring from vet med until you know what you're retiring to. And what does that vision look like? Because if the pain of selling is unknown and the pain of owning it is known, you're always going to go with what's known.
Sure, even if it's hurting, right? Even if it hurts.
Even if it's pain.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. So getting clarity on what the other side of the sales process looks like, and getting clarity on what someone actually requires or what is possible for them, usually helps them we can back our way into how much money they need to save on their personal balance sheet, so as to not rely on the sale of their practice in the future, but rather have complete control on their own balance sheet. To say, okay, you know what, even if I sold my business for $1 tomorrow, I still have way more than enough than I need in order to make it through my retirement.
That makes total sense. Tom, a question for you. One of the things that I always, like, we met a few years ago, and I think it might have been like a VMX or one of the big trade shows years ago when I was with the bank. And one of the things that jumped out at me right away was how in touch and in tune you were with the veterinary. Like you both speak vet extremely well. You made that change. And it's funny, like you mentioned 2011. So you were working with teachers, you were working with other types of clients, and you made the strategic decision to say, okay, I'm partnering with CJ, we're going to go deep into vet. And you have you sound like a 30-year industry veteran when I talk to you. So like when you decided, Tom, to like make that change and focus in vet, like what were some of the things that you focused on? And you don't talk like a financial planner, like you talk like someone that's like an industry veteran. So how do you go about learning the industry and understanding the business the way that you do?
The first thing that pops to mind is talking to people like yourself. I mean, being out there and just be having a curious mind and having a lot of conversations and absorbing information from people. I will say from the very beginning, even when we did approach the community, going back to where it was, it's less focused on a product and it's more focused on how do we get people to where they can become financially free, where they actually have the ability to stop working at some point in the future. They have more clarity, they have more confidence over what they're doing. So it's like taking that mentality and approaching every step of the way of like, well, I just want to understand more. I want to be able to relate with people more. I want to be able to connect with them more. And I know it first started off like, let's talk about our dogs.
Sure.
Because I was like, I love animals. So I got a little Maltipoo, and it's like, hey, let's talk about dogs. Let's talk about animals. And then it started just kind of progressing in conversation. And then I made it a very deliberate effort to just have conversations with people, talk with them, learn more about, what are the challenges that are being experienced out there. Just being able to have more dialogue and meetings and consistently talking with other professionals that are out there, clients, learning a little bit more about what they're experiencing, what are some of their hurdles. And I think especially too, when you spend more time just trying to understand where people are at versus just trying to fix their problems or trying to tell them how it is, and you're really trying to truly understand, I think over time it just becomes like the message becomes so consistent, and then we start shifting how we communicate in our messaging and our marketing. And I don't know, it's been fun. I really enjoy the conversations we have with people, and it's cool that you even bring up here, like we do sound like we know what we're talking about. And I think that's been, we want to become, I'm sure some of you know about Dave Ramsey. I think this is what I've been called. I want to become like the Dave Ramsey of the veterinary community. Like that's what I'd like our firm to be. I want people to think of veterinary financial stuff, and they're like, you guys need to go look at Florida Veterinary Advisors, the Smarter Vet community. Like that's where it's at.
Yeah, that Smarter Vet community, your podcast, I mean, you've done a great job when you make that decision to kind of go deep into an industry. You guys did a really great job of making sure that you have the network. And like the other thing that I find that really good advisors in this industry, and you guys both demonstrate this, like you don't have every answer, but you know that you have someone in your network that you've created that can find the answer for a client so that they're getting good information and making really informed decisions. CJ, can you talk a little bit about like the network and how you guys go about, branching into the industry and all the events and things that you do to kind of create that network for yourselves and for your clients?
Well, I think it naturally happens when you have clients that you're working with who have specific needs. Then, because I remember the first few years of working in vet med, they were, we'd have somebody say, "Oh, I don't have a business attorney," or at least they didn't have a business attorney that they liked. They're like, "I had somebody that drafted my documents, but I don't know how much help he is."
Uncle Chad didn't really do a great job on my lease, right?
And so that causes us to obviously go, okay, well, let's reach out to the people that we know, to find the people that they know, to find the people that they know. And eventually, I mean, we've interviewed, I don't know how many different professionals through the years, but there's a combination of interviewing, and when it comes to professionals in general, you really have two ends of a spectrum. On one side, you have what we call order takers. Those are the people you go to, you say, I need this, and they just give it to you, without really asking a whole lot of follow-up questions to really understanding that, like, where is that need? What do you think? Why do you think you need that? Right, and then maybe customizing something to accomplish exactly what that client's looking to do. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have consultants. Those are the ones that, I mean, very much so. They're high level, right? You don't go to them when you have a specific need. You go to them because you're like, I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. Like tell me, what do I do next? And then you have, I think most people fall somewhere in between those two spectrums, right? And so the more that we've worked and interviewed with professionals, the more we've realized that exists in every industry. And so as we're interviewing an attorney or a CPA, we're oftentimes not only just finding out, are they trustworthy, one, and two, are they competent, but are they going to enter into that relationship with that client from the spectrum of, are they just doing what the client tells them? Or are they really digging down in the details and trying to understand the whys behind everything? And oftentimes, sometimes, yeah, you do need a boilerplate operating agreement. You're opening a practice next month. You don't need anything fancy. You're the only one that's going to make any financial decision. So just put your name across the whole thing on the operating agreement and get it done. But then there are more weird ways where when people want to do a one-sided buy-sell agreement, or they want to do some sort of plan that falls under the 409A retention program rules, right? And so then we have to involve attorneys that not only are they going to be competent and trustworthy, but we also have to make sure, like, are they going to be coaching the client through what is necessary to get them done, and not just charging them fees to charge them fees and deliver a product that the client isn't even really sure that they want.
That's right. The veterinary, like owning a veterinary hospital, like in the beginning, it starts out and nothing's ever simple, but it does get more complicated. I'm experiencing this in my own business, like as you scale and grow and think about adding a employee. What does that mean? Outsourcing, independent contractors, part-time workers, full-time workers. And then when you think about a hospital that's starting to scale and grow, the complexity of that business changes over time. It's almost like I like to equate it to like someone's financial life too, because as their business is growing, income is growing, typically their family is growing. Like you've got other things going on in that person's life that are all kind of in this scale mode, where planning really comes into play. So Tom, like when you work with if you were to give one or two pieces of advice, right? I just graduated. I passed my NAVLE. I'm going to get my first job. I've got $300,000 in student loan debt, right? I'm just happy to be getting a paycheck in the next 2 weeks, right? What should I be thinking about as part of that plan to make sure I'm making really good decisions from the get-go?
That's actually a very easy question because our principles
are complicated.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you right out of the gate, it's like, because we have a very strong belief system at a core to how we work with people, to where it's like, going back to what I'd mentioned earlier, it's like there's a certain level of things we can control, and then there's things that are outside of our control. And I'm sure people who are listening to this, they're going to realize all the noise that's happening out there in society right now, where it's like, if you really look at it, how much control do you have over all these tariffs they're throwing out there? And even as we're recording this, like Musk and Trump are feuding over stuff. And it's like, how much control do you have over what's going to happen on that? And like, you have no idea.
None. No one can control Twitter or X.
Yes. Like there's so many things out there that we worry ourselves with, and we make our decisions around those things, where it's like, well, why don't we really focus on the here and now? Which of course, like we want to know, CJ brought up earlier about what are your reasons for planning and what are you trying to accomplish? And I think being a newly graduated person who's just starting in their career, it's very hard to see the forest beyond the trees type of thing. Like they're just so stuck with what's in front of them. And I think out of anything that they really could concentrate on, one is help understand what kind of risk exposure do you have in your life. This is everything from insurances and ownership of things to your legal documents. And then the other part of it is, what is your savings plan? Like what kind of goal do you have in play to start saving money? And most people, and I could unpack this a lot, and CJ and I could actually, if we want to talk more on this or not, is just so many people will focus a lot of their efforts on trying to aggressively paying off loans, or they aggressively try to put a lot of money into a retirement account through their work, and then not really taking into consideration also the short-term type of other obligations they might have of buying a house, starting a business, having a family, getting married, all these factors that they're not prepared for, and then all of a sudden they happen, and then they're scrambling. And then also at the same time, they've still been on their mom and dad's auto insurance for a while, and they've never considered about transferring and increasing their coverage limits, or their disability they bought only covers $80,000 of income, and it doesn't cover, $150,000 of income. And then they become sick or injured, and then they realize, well, I'm not getting a paycheck, or it's not enough. So it's like these things is like if people really hone in on them, and then really just being able, I think, on the side of the debt, because I know it's a huge subject that's out there, and I know it seems like it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon too. It's just like it seems like it's just compounding. Is that the debt part of it is like you got to get comfortable with knowing, okay, what is your plan with debt, and if you are going to start trying to tackle debt, well, how much time are you going to lose with everything else in your life? So like, let's say if your entire emphasis is just on student loans, but then you're not saving money, you're delaying everything else. What you're really doing is losing time. And I can tell you for a matter of fact, like if I were to, you ask me, ask anyone, in 10 years from now, if your MO is to pay off all your loans, are you with full certainty going to be able to save at a very heavy level, and that your life is going to be exactly the same as it is today as it is in 10 years to maintain on a certain path? And most people are going to look at me and say no.
Right.
So we need to get some sort of a comfortable level with that. And we help people all the time. Sometimes there's not like a quick plug and play solution, but if you were going to ask, should you save or pay off debt, you should do both. If you're going to emphasize one over the other, it'd be save money first.
That's interesting, and I have a very interesting viewpoint from my previous life as a banker. Like, one of the harder conversations we would have to have is with that associate that wanted to become an owner. They get an opportunity in front of them, and then all of a sudden we go to talk to them about their balance sheet, and they have no money saved, but they were able to pay off $100,000 in student loans over the last few years. Like, that's great, but where's the rainy day fund? Because owning a veterinary hospital isn't all sunshines and rainbows and unicorns. There are rainy days that come through, and you have to have that backstop of savings. Whether, and like you said, like in 10 years, do you want to own a house or not? And what are the effects if you don't, and you buy a house later in life? Like, how does that affect your financial plan? CJ, I know you're very passionate about this. So
a good plan has a plan when nothing goes according to plan. So if we focus on saving, if we focus on because the control in a business is the same as the control in your personal life. Control is found on the left side of the balance sheet, not on the right. Because you can be debt free, but still financially strapped because you're still living paycheck to paycheck. So I think that, with what sounds good out there on the marketplace of ideas and what financial entertainers constantly promote, from what I've seen, most of them say focus on paying, get your debt gone, etc. And they, there are some people out there in the religious sector that they say, oh well, this debtor is a slave to the lender, and all this kind of stuff. And whereas that is true, and if you look at Scripture, you can unpack that. I am a Christian, I do, and I look at Scripture a lot. There is this other part of that of like, you can have debt if you're using it as a tool. Because that how else would you be able to become a practice owner? How else would you be able to build the wealth? So I think most of our culture is very, very much so about following feelings. And so debt, it makes me feel bad. But if we were to pull back, you're going to feel awful if you're that person that you just mentioned, where they go to buy a practice and they don't have any cash on their balance sheet. And now the bank is basically having to decline helping them become a practice owner, all because, now they have lower student loans, but they can't get any of that money back from the student loans. Like, once you pay off the student loans, they're gone. It's different than a mortgage of like your home. Like, at least you could probably...
At least with a home, you get some equity. The only equity you have in that is that you have your license. That's it. And you can't pull money out of your license. Only thing
you had the same amount of equity having a license with debt than if you had a license without debt. So, because the license doesn't magically boost the bank's confidence because you have $100,000 less of student loans. That's
right. That's where like the planning part of it. It's funny. Like it's also about planning not to just be reaction. You're really talking about not be reactive to problems. It's about how good is your plan. Well, your plan is only going to be good or bad based on how when things go awry. Or things go bad, like how does that plan get you through those moments? That was I'm going to take that away.
A good plan has a plan when nothing's according to plan.
That's great. I really like that. So let's shift gears a minute and talk a little bit about the veterinary medicine and kind of where things stand today, and what are some of the things that you see on the forefront. So you see a lot of people selling. You see a lot of people that are preparing to sell. What are some of the pieces of advice, and I'll ask Tom first, what are some of the pieces of advice you're giving a potential seller of a veterinary hospital today? If they're a couple years away, what are some of the things you're trying to stage for them and with them during that process?
The first question is to ask, what does your retirement income plan look like? Because so many of them, they do sell, and I'm sure you've seen this firsthand, Bill, where you sell and then they get a lump sum of money. Also, have they also taken consideration of capital gains if there are in the sale proceeds? And now they have a lump sum of money where it's, well, what does it do? And that's where a lot of owners will not even understand what value their business even plays in the combination of it all. So their entire plan is very dependent on that, which what happens, what I've just noticed over time is ones that haven't planned very effectively, either they don't have the ability, if they want to retain private ownership and sell it to another employee, it's hard because they're not going to get enough money for it, which that might be like what CJ had mentioned earlier, like, people who plan to keep their business until they die, like they might have to because they don't really have any other options. But then the corporation, someone will come around and offer them a few $1,000,000 more. And like, I can understand the equation. It's like, well, if it's going to be a make or break for my financial future, well, I'm probably going to sell it to an investing group. Like, why would I not?
Sure.
I think a good rule of thumb to follow here, it's like if you are approaching, if it is a personal sale, really 5 years at a minimum would be what you'd want to concentrate on. 10 years is ideal because then it's like we can structure all these really cool things in play to be able to minimize some of the taxes, minimize some of the risk, make it more advantageous for both the buyer and the seller of the business. We have some actual transitions we've been working with, either like a father and their child, and the child's a veterinarian buying the business. So it's like a 10-year plan structured on how to do that.
Yes.
So it's like, being able to do that. If you want to have someone to buy into the business, of course, you got to really make sure your finances look good. Because it's like, if you have no idea the value of your business and everything's kind of commingled, it's very hard to have a good discussion around that. And this really kind of leans into the side of selling to an investing group. Because, look, if you don't have good books, profit loss statements, you don't have good tax returns, and now you're over here trying to negotiate and get the highest value possible for that business, and you really don't even know how to even make an argument on how to sell it for, like, of course you play a big part in this, Bill, as well, of like, how do we go in there and get as much as we can? But it's very hard to communicate the story of the business and be able to command the highest value when, like, let's say your personal finances are mingled in with your business and your books aren't updated, your profit loss statements aren't updated, and your tax returns are showing lower profits, even though like they could be all these add backs and different things that could have been adjusted. If you can get at least a couple years in advance, I usually encourage people, CJ and I, we tell people, hey, look, get your books in order. If you haven't done your profit loss statements, you should really get them pulled together for the last few years. And I like to look at it more from a month by month status. And
Yes.
that way you can be able to see like the way the business is doing every month versus, most people will give them to us as a compilation of the entire year. And it's like, that doesn't tell the story of how the business did every month. It's just, this is where it's the same thing like your tax return.
Provides a little layer of transparency to even see anything that's seasonal.
Right. Understanding seasonality in your business and the ebbs and flows of income, like to be able to, again, plan for that, right? Like, so you don't have to just say, well, August is going to be tight, so I'm not going to go on that vacation. But it's like, okay, well, if you know August is going to be tight, and August has been tight for the last 10 years, then let's put a plan together for that so we can power through that moment and get through the other side of that a little easier than you have in years past. And I totally agree. The best clients I've worked with have a really good accounting firm behind them, have updated QuickBooks, or they're on QuickBooks themselves, and they're very in touch and in tune with their financial, even if they are using some creative tax avoidance strategies, right? But you can find and follow the money. You can find and follow what the real true profit of the business is, and if they can do that, it makes the sale process so much easier. Whether you're selling to like a corporate acquirer or just another practitioner, because they also want confidence. If anything, more so. They want the confidence to say, I know how much, if I do nothing else with this business and I transition it the right way, I know exactly what I'll make year over year with those clean books. So that's a really great point.
The veterinary industry is not alone in this though, because it's I would call it like business finances 101 is like understanding your books, understanding your taxes, understanding profitability. Like those are like profitability is your money. Like that's you're either putting that back in your business to increase profitability or you're taking that to build personal wealth. And it's like, no matter the industry, it could be dentistry, it could be optometry, it could be a blue collar business, AC company. It doesn't matter. Like when you actually start talking with them, the lack of clarity that people have around that, and it's like going to like with CJ, like I think it's a really good thing to lean in here is that it's not like, what are you going to? It's like, what are you trying to build a business through? Like, where are you going next?
Yeah.
And when you have that picture in mind in the first place, it tends to make you think differently about how you approach the day to day instead of just getting sucked into the, the whirlwind of life. And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm 65 and I want to retire. And it's like,
Whoops.
what do I do? Whoops,
How did
right?
that happen? That's right. That's right. That's great. So that's a good segue. I ask all of our guests, kind of their retirement story, and I love that you guys are financial advisors because, you have this conversation every day. Like, you're talking with your clients about what's the end game, right? So here's a question for you all. Then we'll start with CJ. What's your Wicklow? What's your retirement story? Where do you see this going to for yourself, and what does that look like when you do decide to hang up the cleats?
It's funny because I think the first a part of that question has to be answered first with how we see retirement. I don't think is a day in the future. I think it's something that happens gradually. And so I've already begun essentially what I'm trying to do, which is mostly mentorship, right? I'm helping other advisors.
CJ doesn't work right now at all.
Dude,
I'm just totally kidding.
You're outing me right now. What are you doing, bro? Like, so, no, a lot of it is because there's an element of like in my faith, we talk about discipleship and it's a matter of kind of expanding and if you're really doing something you believe in, then you need to be telling people about it, right? And so, we started adding advisors to our team, and now we're kind of helping other people become successful in the business. And so I think that's going to essentially be what I continue on until I die. I mean, I'm always going to be coaching younger advisors on how to get in the industry, what kind of business model they should have, how they think about product and how they help clients and kind of work through, because there's definitely a very different model that we have within the industry. Just strategically speaking. But ultimately, whenever I am retired, like we're talking like I'm done, then I'm going to go be a part-time professor in finance.
That's awesome. That's great. So still engaged, still working.
I think molding younger minds to just think about financial things in a very different way starts in college. And if I've got a room full of financial minded people, and those are people then are going to be launched from that college to go help other people in whether they're an analyst or an advisor, whatever, right? Getting them to think in a particular way, I think is a way to just further impact the world.
That's fantastic. That's a great Wicklow. Tom, same question to you then. What does it look like? Yeah, that's a lot to follow there, sir.
I'm going to be a monk.
I could tell on his face that he had something. Like, he was just waiting. Like, CJ's opining about, everything he's going to do and part of coaching. And there's just Tom. Just going to go monk. I'm going to go monk.
Yeah. I actually think the more and more I think about this, because it's like we all go through seasons of life.
Yeah.
And, one person had told me we go through these like 7-year seasons where it's like we have like massive growth, and then it's like you hit another phase of life. And, I think where I'm currently at here, and it's becoming even stronger over time, is like I like creating something to where it makes a huge impact to society. And I think something that's been in front of us is the veterinary, financial planning that we're doing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's bigger than just that. And it's like being able to, let's say be the guide to this massive ship that's out there, and being able to help show other people how to do what I can do, and finding those people to be able to replicate and do it over and over and over. I think over time, I want to extract myself more out of the mix, and eventually have it to where I can be on the sideline watching other people and being a coach, like similar like what CJ was saying.
Totally.
And just being a mentor to them and guiding them. And at what phase is that going to happen? I think it's progressively. Sure. Retirement isn't a date; it's more of like a progressive shift. And I think even retirement doesn't even have to be like I'm a certain age. It's just more of maybe your mindset or your mentality or what you're focusing on is shifted now.
Right.
So, I love this business. Compliance sometimes makes things fun for us. Well, I'll just leave it like that. So it's like,
planners
it's
compliance.
People hear, but you know what's funny about that? People hear that and they think compliance on the client side. That's not a problem. We're talking about compliance in the form of what we can say on the internet. Because you have people who have zero licenses out there saying the absolute craziest nonsense. But the general public, unless they spend a whole lot of time reading other books and trying to figure things out, they don't know. And so they follow the advice of TikTokers and entertainers on YouTube. And then they go do these things. And then Tom and we get them on the other side sometimes because they learn about us from our YouTube channel or whatever. And they're going, wow, I really wish I didn't follow fill in the blank. And you're like, yeah, I like, sorry. Like there's.
Shouldn't have bought all those coins. I was told to buy online coins. That's what I needed.
Well, it's like, I keep thinking of too, it's like, well, why are you guys telling me to do this, but everyone else is saying that I shouldn't do it? And it's like,
because they're not licensed.
Yeah.
And they're trying to sell you books, right? They're not licensed. They're out there to sell books. They're out there to get clicks. They're not out there because they're held accountable for giving you bad advice.
That's right. There is not, and this goes across industries, right? It's everywhere. But I really do believe this. Like whether you're financial or business, there is bad advice everywhere. You can find bad advice by a couple of clicks, right? But there's nothing more. There's nothing that has a greater effect than getting.
But I think the reason why it takes it a little bit more, and people can disagree with this or not, right? Because I've had attorneys and I've had ERISA attorneys tell me that we're regulated to just an enormous degree, because when compliance require, like when the government says that you can't print business cards unless they have a paragraph long disclosure and your license number in certain states, like, okay, hold on. You mean to tell me that a business card is considered marketing material and I have to have a disclosure of which no one knows what it actually says or means, nor has ever read, and yet I have to get a new business card printed every 3 months because the government regulatory agencies are constantly updating this. And so it's like, I don't think these are, ill-meaning people, but the idea of being able to have gloves off right out in the universe of the marketplace of ideas, where people can say whatever they want and they're not held accountable because they don't have licenses. But then the people that have the licenses, you now hold them so far accountable that they can't say anything. Like you literally handcuff the people that can give the good information, and you've let everybody run rampant who is just out there trying to sell books and tell people that real estate is the magical way to retirement.
Right, financial entertainers. That was I took that away. I like that description. I would say this, like, for anyone listening, right? If you're interested in learning more about finance, if you're interested in learning more about managing your money and managing your life and managing your business, you should certainly reach out to licensed professionals, and Tom and CJ are fantastic at that. So if you're a veterinarian and any of this resonated, reach out to Tom and CJ and we'll have their contact information up. Just guys, website real quick would be fantastic, so that way if anyone wants to get a hold of you, they can go ahead and click through it and find you. Tom?
Yeah, the veterinary related, if you want to go to flvetadvisors.com, got a lot of stuff there. If you're not associated as a veterinarian and you want to talk as well, I mean, we have other industries we do service. It's just not one of that we actively market towards. But nextstepfinances.com is our main parent company. And Florida Veterinary Advisors is actually a brand of the Next Step Planning Group. So we got a bigger vision here just to kind of put that out there with what we're doing. But you just drop us, you'll see a link that says contact, fill out the form. Someone on our team can get back in touch with you within the day or next day.
That's awesome. It's never too early to start planning. It's never too early to get engaged in your finances, in your business, and your personal planning. So that's great advice. And what a great discussion today. Guys, I can't thank you enough for coming on today. It was a really great conversation. I know everyone that listened learned a lot. And again, appreciate you joining, and go have a great rest of your week and weekends.
You know, every time we speak, it's no apologies. This is Wicklow Healthcare Advisory, presenting industry insiders, brought by Bill Murray. He help you in a real hurry. From ownership to healthcare, he an advocate, teaching you how to buy and sell practices. From CPAs to attorneys, all guests, here to help you reach your goals. You never know who's on next. This is Wicklow Healthcare Advisory. Let's go!